Good day. I'm Nicole Alvin S. from NS2A2. To describe the various radar presentation in the video circle, on the selector, select Stabilize Course Up Display Presentation. To be able to recognize and identify that it is a course up first debating scale or bearing dial, at the top of bearing dial, there is a heading input which is 250 degrees. In the beginning of the selection, heading line is pointing upward. It moves every time the ship's heading changes on the bow movement or by vessel altering course. If the vessels start altering course to starboard, the heading lines move. That is one of the characteristics of stabilized course up. To reset the heading line to bring back to the center again, just change setting from stabilized course up to north up. One of the characteristics of stabilized course up is when you measure all the bearings. All bearing measured is true or true bearing. If you acquire the bearing of the target, press the ABAL1 at the center of an echo target. You can see in the bearing dial of the bearing of the target echo. To measure the range of the target, control the ABL1 and press in the inner side in your edge of the target and take note the time of observation and you can obtain the accuracy. In the stabilized north up, the heading line is pointing on the actual heading value along the bearing dial. Anti-heading line also will move every time the heading change on the top of the bearing dial is the true north which is 000 degree. All the bearing measure is true. For relative motion display, one of the characteristics of the relative motion display, this is our own ship's position. It is always located in the center of the video circle. It is stationary. All the moving targets and the stationary targets moves relative according to on-ship interrelated motion display. It is the target, the echo target that move on the video circle. On true motion display, the true motion display presentation, you can see that the on-ship's position is at maximum viewpoint of center and it is moving based on the speed of the ground, the actual speed and the actual movement of the water. The stationary target remain stationary, only the moving target move accordingly to the actual movement of the target vessel. Now, it is being observed in the visual view or the bridge view that is also the same movement in your video circle. All bearing measure on the video circle, unstabilized setup presentation. In the unstabilized it up there's no heading input. You cannot see your heading value on the bearing scale because the heading line is always pointing upward and it will not change and it always pointing upward and fixed. At the top of the bearing dial is 000 degree, the relative reference of measurement and always 0, not a true north. And also when the vessel heading change, it is the echo or the stationary object or the relative that is the one that move the bearing measurement. Activate the bearing 1, the VRM1, you can measure the relative value. Only in the unstabilized you can be measured relative. All moving target and stationary target can move in relative direction. You are on a stationary. There will be no heading input, always pointing upward. That is the characteristics of unstabilized setup. You cannot set true motion if you are in unstabilized setup, only relative motion. Not like in stabilized north up or course up, the heading line is pointing upward. You can select either stabilized course up or true motion stream. In the true motion display, you can see there In the maximum view or off-center, those are various radar display presentation and motion.